Can we listen to that one small voice? Can we listen? Listen to your heart. Can we listen to that one small voice? Listen to your heart, to your heart, to your heart. It's a journey. It begins with a step in times of uncertainty. Wisdom comes from within, clarity. You know we're not alone or lost. Listen to your heart and to God, to your heart. Can we listen to that one small voice? Can we listen? Listen to your heart. Can we listen? Yeah, to that one small voice. Listen to your heart, to your heart, to your heart. Faith like oil takes the friction out of life. Take the action. Pray every night, aligned with spirits. Well, you know the reason why. And listen to your heart and to God, to your heart. Can we listen to the one small voice? Can we listen? Listen to your heart. Can we listen to the one small voice? Listen to your heart, to your heart, to your heart. God is gonna guide you. God is gonna guide you. Love will always find you. Love will always find you. God will always guide you. God will always guide you. Love is on the side you. Love is on the side you. Can we listen heart, oh my God, to your heart. Can we listen to that one small voice? Can we listen? Listen to your heart. Can we listen? Yeah, to that one small voice. Listen to your heart, to your heart, to your heart. One time. Can we listen to the one small voice? Can we listen? Listen to your heart. Can we listen to the one small voice? Listen to your heart, to your heart, to your heart.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunday celebrations here for the Centers of Spiritual Living Denver. We are a loving and prospering community here in the heart of Capitol Hill and online. 2021 has continued to be an interesting year, to say the least. We know that with everything going on, life can feel overwhelming. Here at CSL Denver, we want you to know that we are here for you. Please know that our practitioners are available for prayer work with you. Our names and phone numbers are on the website at www.cslddenver.org. Or if you have a prayer request, please email it to info@cslddenver.org. Reverend Elzia, along with all of our guest speakers, all of our practitioners, our music and service coordinators, want you to know how truly grateful we are for your online support. Thank you for watching our Sunday services, attending our online workshops and events, and providing financial support so that we can keep our virtual doors open. We love you all and know we'll be seeing you in person in the right and perfect time. And now, we'll continue to meet online until further notice. If you're interested in upcoming events and information, we send out weekly newsletters. Please go to www.cslddenver.org and sign up for our newsletters. We only send out one per week. Or send an email to info@cslddenver.org and request to be put on our mailing list. Life isn't always about what we want, it's about what we have. Always be grateful. Through the ages, great minds have always described the importance of gratitude. As Meister Eckhart said, if the only prayer you say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough. On December 5th, right after service from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Practitioner Rumi Engineer will lead us in the golden thread of gratitude. This is an interactive workshop presented via Zoom. Contact us at info@cslddenver.org to attend. Love offerings to CSL Denver for this class will be greatly appreciated, but join us either way. We'll be sending out the Zoom invite that morning, Sunday, December 5th. This week we are...
My faith in you is being tested. The more I think like you, it's a great investment. My faith in you can't be protested. The more I'm one with you, I'm more enlightened. My faith in you will surely lift me. Your faith in God will always guide you. Our faith in you will surely lift us. Our faith in you your faith, our faith.
Thank you, Freddy. I'm Alice Nutter, a practitioner here at CSL Denver, and I invite you to join me in our opening invocation. If you're comfortable, sit back and close your eyes. Just taking a deep breath, just moving into that space and that place that is always there. Knowing that as we move into this service, that Spirit is here, right now, guiding us and just holding us in its deep love and compassion. And I bless this service, knowing that all who need it see it, whether it's right now and live in person or in the week as it progresses. And we bless CSL Denver for all that we provide for our for our community, and just knowing that the truth of who we are is always right there, right here, right now. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this beloved community. I am so grateful for this teaching. I am so grateful for all who make CSL Denver what it is. We are so truly, truly blessed by all the love and support that we receive from everybody. And from that place of deep, deep gratitude, I release this into that one mind, that one heart, knowing that all is well, and it is so. And so it is. So our reading this morning is from the book 5 Gifts for an Abundant Life by Diane Harmony. When asked what the word surrender means to us, most of us answer with words like resignation, giving up, lethargy, I don't care anymore, and you win, I lose. The image of a white flag waving on a battlefield may come to mind. The war is over, and if we are on the side behind the billowing white sheet, we are bloodied, defeated, and facing our fate of being either captured or killed. Not a positive or pretty image, to be sure. Perhaps the key to distinguishing surrender from its human ego definitions and understanding its gift is to look at to whom we are being asked to surrender. And the answer is to the power and presence of God within. Now that concept might just unlock the door to surrender as the powerful spiritual practice that it is. When we let go and let God, we are in the midst of a spiritual practice so powerful that the core beliefs that have held us captive and small can be dismantled. Resistance to our good can melt away. Fear of the unknown can be shattered. A sense of oneness with God and all life can be embodied, and a whole new world of infinite possibilities can open up for us. And to what or whom do we practice the act and art of surrender in order to experience these beautiful, abundant benefits? Not to something or someone outside of ourselves, as required by the non-spiritual concept of surrender, but to the God within us. It is deep inner work to surrender the ego, little self, to the divine self that is the very core of us. It is through realizing that this is an inside job that the real issue has nothing to do with giving up to an authority in our outer world or accepting defeat in any way that we are empowered. The synonyms for surrender take on a whole new meaning. We yield to the flow of life rather than oppose it. We let go of resistance to accepting what is, to allow ourselves to choose differently. We reassign our little selves to the service of our holy selves and to the guidance that he offers. We submit our will to the divine will of Spirit with us. We are submitting our inner ear to listening to the still small voice that is forever offering its inspiration to us. So let's try an experiment. Speak the following affirmation 100 times a day for a week. You can break it up into 4 times a day for 25 times, or whatever works best for you. But really feel it in your body and experience that surrender. See how your life changed. And get back to me and let me know. So say with me, I surrender to the power and presence of God within me. And so it is. Thank you. And now back to Freddy.
Surrender to a love above, a deeper love. control. Surrender to a love above, a deeper love is powerful. Surrender to the highest love. Live from faith, let go of control, control. Surrender to a love above, a deeper love is powerful. Surrender to the highest love. Live from faith, let go all control, control.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of CSL Sunday. We are a place, a space, and a place of love, invoking and implementing ancient wisdom into our lives to become better each and every day and to activate the divine love inside. So it is such a pleasure to be here with you today as we kick off the new month and begin to really establish this whole idea of this month's theme of journey of becoming. Surrender in action is where we will go today, but the monthly theme is the journey of becoming. And so this whole idea of surrendering in action is very powerful and I think very apropos given where we were last month. So last month we reflected on this vision of this journey that we've been on and the insights that we've gained after really an arduous adventure over the last 2 months to go within and to find our way and to overcome obstacles. And we got to that vista. And as we looked around, we realized that there was more of the journey to go. There was more places and more peaks and more valleys that we needed to process. And so this month, as we understand that this is called the process of becoming, the journey of becoming. And when we look at this whole idea of the process of becoming, if we look back, it's this process of things overlapping and blending and becoming blurry and eventually creating this cycle of life where we spiral to our greatness, where we become more than we thought we ever could be, because we begin to incorporate all of the events and experiences in our lives to become bigger, better, stronger, and wiser in all that we do. Now, the first thing we need to understand here is that this process of becoming is not a passive activity. It's something that we have to be involved in. We have to surrender in action to this process to begin to really experience and actualize that God within. Because you see, if you look in the dictionary and you look up surrender, you will see that surrender is a verb. It's action. There's something that has to be done there. And so that's what we are engaging into now, is how do we begin to engage life? How do we begin to surrender into the power of the divine? So this process, as we said, is not passive, and we have to begin to relax into the order of the divine, so that when we surrender, it's not some chaotic thing. It's not some thing of what a lot of people view surrender as, which is giving up. I mean, most people, when they hear the word surrender, the first thing that comes to their mind is that we're giving up. But in actuality, the word has a better meaning, I think, and that means is to cease resistance and to step into acceptance. Release or cease resistance and step into acceptance, because that is the ultimate way of expressing life. You see, when we look back at the ancient ones, if we go back to some of the ancient creation stories, and the one I like that exemplifies this to its utmost is the ancient Egyptian creation story, where there's the god Atum, who speaks to creating the world out of chaos and bringing order by divine magic or divine energy that is imbued in everything. And that magic, that energy, that divine spark, that spirit is waiting for us to surrender into its various parts, so that we become whole, so that we become one. And we understand that the surrendering is not fighting, not giving up. It is the process of acceptance of who and what we are. You see, because from that ancient Egyptian creation story, we look at the soul, and it says the soul is made up of various parts. It's made up of a spiritual body called the Shu, or it's made up of a name called the Ren, or a personality called the Ba, or the heart called the Ab. And the highest element of that is creating this Ankh. Everybody is familiar with the Ankh of life, which is a symbol of the surrendering into these various parts of ourselves and making it one. So when we begin to listen and surrender into that inner guidance, and we accept it and allow it to lead us when everything we do, now we are surrendering in action. We begin to tap in and tune in and turn on to that divine spark within. And so today's topic on this whole idea of surrender in action, which some people might think is a contradiction, because again, they look at surrender as giving up, being inactive. But we see that the word surrender is a verb. It's something that we move into, and it leads us to this idea of practicing the presence. Now, you'll hear us say a lot about that, about practicing the presence. And so that is something that we really want to move forward in and begin to understand what that means. Now, I'd like to share this slide with you that says our minds should swing from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, from prayer to performance. This will be a well-balanced existence. This will be a well-balanced existence. And so this is what we're striving for. This is what we are hoping to invoke in our lives when we practice the presence. And the way that we do that is we have to implement discipline. We have to implement methodologies that allow us to open, that allow us to feel God in everything we do. Because when we begin to practice this presence, that means we allow the principle of oneness and creativity and love to be an integral part of our lives. We begin to experience the infinite oneness of all things. In fact, the infinite oneness of reality itself. There's no way to not go collisioning into or colliding into this one reality when we surrender. We begin to see things very differently. And we begin to realize that regardless of our opinion or our complete insight, there are still some things missing. So when we surrender to the presence of divine love within, we begin to see that all things are possible. When we listen to and surrender to that guidance, we receive exactly what we want when we need it. You know, it's like it may not get there when I want it, but it's always right on time. Always right on time. And so this month and beginning right now, we're going to explore how do we step into that surrender so that we continue to become more of who we are. And we can integrate, as we look at in that ancient creation story of Egypt, where how we integrate these various parts of ourselves, our heart, our personality, our shadow, into this container called us that is housed in our soul and in our hearts, so that we begin to be a reflection of God itself. So to kickstart this thing of becoming and surrendering, I like to offer three things. The first thing that we have to do is take inventory and reflect. Take inventory and reflect. Because in that creation story, you see, there was this whole idea of the world being created from this magical energy. So my question for you, as you take inventory and reflect, how do you engage the magic? Are you engaging the magic? Are you aware that there is a magic? And if you are, great. If you're not, investigate it. Take some inventory. And once you've got your hand wrapped around it, the thing that you want to do is find out, what do you fear? What do I fear about letting go and allowing this magic to work? What is it that we fear that keep us from stepping into the magic? We see it all around us every day. We encounter it in different ways, but we are sometimes afraid to give into that magic, to give into that. So let's take inventory. That's the first thing we do, and reflect on why we do not allow that to take place, because it's something that is very important. And so I love this quote by Julia Cameron, who wrote this book called The Artist's Way. And if you haven't read that book, I think it's very good reading into how we become more of who we are, that creative side, because that's when we are really surrendering. When you look at artists, they're free. You know, we always have these artist bohemian kind of definitions where they are free, and we allow that to express the creation of the universe. And so she says this: the creative process is a process of surrender, not control. A process of surrender, not control. How many of us want to control everything? How many of us said, oh, I can't, I got too much to do. I can't do that, or I can't engage in that, or I can't relax, because we're trying to control things. We're thinking that we can, keep everything in order, and we can't, because there's too many circles. There's too many things in life that won't allow us to be that, to do that. So once we take inventory and reflect, we can understand that, we can know that, and we can release and allow that fear to move on. Then the second thing is, after we've taken some inventory and we got some reflection going on, the second thing that we need to do is we need to let God into our lives more deeply. We have to let God into our lives more deeply. Now, what does that mean? When we become still and we listen long enough, I want to emphasize the word long enough. That doesn't mean I sit down for 5 minutes today and I say, well, I meditated, but I didn't get anything. I don't feel no process. I have no creativity. That's not how it works. You have to sit with it and allow yourself, as we said before, after we've taken this inventory, to release all those things that are blockages. That could be fear. That could be too much control, too much confidence, whole manner of things that keeps that divine energy of surrendering, i.e., accepting God and life as it is and moving forward. So when we let go of all the other things and begin to let God into our lives more deeply, then we begin to sit still and listen, and we feel and hear that voice at our very soul level that says yes to life, that says yes to the ideas and things that you want to get done, and to the way that life appears to you. Now, that requires, as we said earlier, that requires some discipline. That requires some strategies of how you implement these things in your life. And so here's my little Van Lee. He has this statement, which, and I know I messed his name up, so he gonna get me, and that's okay. I'm honoring his words because that's what's true. And it says this: we just need to recognize the simple wonders of being alive, of being a part of life, and say an unconditional yes. To bring fully present at this moment of transition. Through this yes, we open ourselves to what life needs. Just say yes. Just say yes to life. Just open to life. Surrender to life. Release the resistance. You know, for all you Star Trek fans, and I know the board got a bad rep on Star Trek, but the word that they had that is synonymous with this idea is resistance is futile. God is in control. God is working things, and when we allow ourselves not to tap into that, resistance becomes futile. And so the third thing and the last thing is, after we've taken inventory and reflected, and we've allowed God to come into our lives at a much deeper level, the last thing that we need to do is live by faith. Live by faith. And that means we have to surrender ourselves to the divine so that we can get in touch with the divine within. That essential nature of who we are, so that we can follow the guidance and that we can move in a way that we trust the universe, that we trust our actions, and we trust our intuition to lead us to higher and higher grounds. Now, that may be a challenge. I know it's sometimes a challenge for me, but when that happens, I rely on this. The heart of the human being opens, and we learn to see with the eyes of the heart and listen with the ears of the heart. This is something we have forgotten. It is a great mystery of being human, how our hearts can be opened. How our hearts can be opened so that we move into this new way of living, this broader scope. And so when we can do that, we begin to live, we begin to love, and we surrender into the idea of action and the process of becoming. Excuse me. I'd like to just end with this very quick story, this Zen koan. Some of you may have heard it, and I think it kind of capsulizes this whole process of where we are right here on this surrender. So there's this story where there's a guy who's out climbing on a mountain cliff, and he gets himself in a vicarious situation, and by some strange way, he finds himself hanging over the cliff to a branch of a tree with his teeth. And he's hanging on for dear life. And then this Zen master walks by and said, "You can be saved from this predicament. Only thing you have to do is say the one thing that has the power to save your life, to take you out of this predicament." Well, now it doesn't take long to figure out that anything he says is going to cause a predicament. In fact, there's nothing that he can say that's going to lessen that situation, so it appears. But the essence of that story is for us to get ourselves out of this predicament of not being fully who we are, we have to surrender, which often looks like death. And the only way for him to say the words that will cause him to live, he has to open his mouth, let go of the branch, and in that moment, that instant, he has full life. And he's recreated the story of the phoenix. He's reborn again. And that's what that koan, or at least one of the meanings of that koan is. Sometimes we find ourselves, and there is no good answer that we can see with our mind. So we have to surrender. We have to surrender to the will of God and to the power of God. And so let's remember that story. And let's always think about this idea, as they say, be still and know that you are God. Be still and know that you are God, so that we begin to say things and do things and act in a way that we are enough, that we are enough. And so, as always, I like to have these call to actions that we need as we remember this lesson and this week's journey. So the call to action this week is two simple things. Spend some time over the next few days in solitude and silence, reflecting, taking inventory. And then, when it's possible, journal about what are you afraid of that keeps you from surrendering to the flow of life, to the process of becoming. So that you begin to recognize who and what you are, what I am, what we are. And when that happens, we open. We open. And so when I close here, look at this affirmation as we sink this in. I lay all burdens on the altar of divine love and surrender to the God within. And surrender to the God within. This is where we begin to open up and allow God to be the guiding presence in our life. And so with that, I said, let's take a deep breath and let's step into prayer. And so as we take this moment of silence, of pure stillness, to allow that voice within, that God presence, to awaken every aspect of our being, our heart, our mind, our personality, our shadow, our coming together of all these things to make who and what each and every one of us are, knowing that it is a reflection of the divine, that it is a moment where we recognize that God is real and we are part of that reality. And when we step into that, we know fully who we are, and that we can surrender without fear and without trepidation and without any doubt of our calling of life and our skills in life, of our way of being that allows us to be greater than we ever thought we could be. Because when we do that, we allow the presence of God to be with us every moment. And so with that, I just know and step into a knowingness for each and every one of us on this call, and those that may be in the sound of this voice and that may hear it later, that there is an energy, a magic, action within that allows us to say yes to life and to be guiding light to ourselves and to others as we allow it more deeply in our activities, as we surrender and accept who we are, children of the Most High God, that are able to do all manner of things in a creative way that is unique to each and every one of us. And so right now, I declare and know that each one of us are surrendering to God. We are surrendering to the idea of who we are and what God is and how we operate and move through life together. And it is in that movement of life, that process of becoming, that I release this, giving thanks, knowing that it is done, it is heard, and it is oh so well in the mind and heart of God. And so I release, I let go, and I know that it is so. And so it is. Amen, amen, and amen. And so I just trust and hope that there's something there for each and every one of you to sink your teeth in for this week as we move into the holiday season and we move into the season of light to open up to who and what we are. And so now it's that time of gracious and glorious giving. And we are so grateful and blessed for everyone that supports CSL Denver, whether it's in time, treasure, or talent, during these times where we are continuing to be online and looking forward to when we come back in person. And so if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the many different ways that you can support our center through going to our website and clicking on donate, through the texting, or through sending a check or money or to our P.O. box. But however you give, please continue to give and support us, because we are here to make a difference on earth. And so if you take that tithe or place your hand over your heart just to anchor that idea of what we are, this perfect gift is spirit informed, circulating and touching all, and circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, Reverend Elzia. Surrender is important. So we will not be holding fellowship today because today is the day for Rumi Engineer's Golden Thread of Gratitude workshop. It will be right after service today at 11 a.m. and will go until 1 p.m. This is an interactive workshop on what is gratitude and how it works in our lives. We sent out a Zoom invitation this morning around 8:30 Denver time. If you didn't receive it and are interested in attending the workshop, please send an email to info@csldenver.org and request the Zoom invitation. As always, we are grateful to receive your donation for the workshop, but it's not required for you to attend. So we would be so grateful if you joined us. Meanwhile, we hope you have a wonderful week and affirm right here and right now that 2021 is blessed. We've only got 1 month left and perfect in all that it is. We love you. We miss you. Please take care of yourselves. And let's close out with more music from Freddy Rodriguez.
Woo. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always. If you need direction, God will put you in position. Listen to that small voice within. Pause from all the busyness. Follow that eagle in the sky. Fly high where spirit does a guide. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always. Think positive and don't think negative. Don't let your little light dim. Take time for some silence. Listen for God's guidance. Follow that eagle in the sky. Fly high where spirit is down. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always best. North, south, east, west, God's way is always, always best. Always best. Yeah.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.